Listen and subscribe to The Table of Truth on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts. Welcome, everybody, to The Table of Truth. This is your man, Cam. With me, as always, is...
the other Cam, a.k.a. Hotep Vegeta, better known as Woke Hokage.
Wow.
Wow. That's pretty good, dude. That's pretty good.
I had to follow that.
As well as...
this is Josh, a.k.a., as I've been dubbed by Cam, DJ Toss Grenades, a.k.a. Bizarro 50 Cent.
Better known as Bishop Basmati.
Truth.
Yeah, and we are at the Table of Truth. You know, we like to talk and see what's going on with this wonderful world of ours. You know, anything interesting happening lately, guys? That's pretty boring these days, right? Just sunshine and puppy tails and sunflowers.
Pretty quiet.
Fund the police. Fund the police. Fund the police.
So we'll just get it out the way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, our former man, Ice Cube. He recently came out with in support of a thing called the Contract with Black America, which is a organization that's been around for a little bit. It's been doing this thing, but he had latched onto it within the last couple months or so. And so, as he was with this organization, it came out that Donald Trump's administration came out with this thing called the Platinum Plan, quote unquote. Which was a plan to court to the Black America and some of our issues that are near and dear to our hearts. And he was found out to be a part of this consultation in terms of the plan, basing some of it off of a contract with Black America. Further things that found out more that he sat down with Bannon and Jared Kushner. And also, and to be fair, he also did sit down with the Biden and Harris campaign. They kind of gave platitudes and whatever stuff like normal Democrats normally do. So anyways, once this all came out, you have the memes are fast and furious. The internet is forever. And then two, he started to do a little bit more press and kind of talk. He had Instagram video where he sat down and talked about it and stuff. And I think the first reaction, as Cam so eloquently put it, how do you go from NWA to the MAGA, sorry.
I was talking reckless because you know how Twitter works. If you're familiar with Twitter, we see something, we run away with it. And there was a lot of noise about Ice Cube trending on Twitter about him working with the Trump campaign because there was a certain advisor in the Trump campaign that said, I want to give a huge shout out to Ice Cube, had his @ and people were like, what? Ice Cube was working with the Trump campaign? What in God's green earth is going on in the year 2020? And so at first I was like, damn, that's crazy. So I was getting my jokes off within my circle of friends, not on a public forum such as Twitter. But I also wanted to wait it out and see, you know how it is. You jump the gun and then we find out it's something different or we don't understand the whole story. So I wanted to see what Ice Cube was really talking about. And to be fair, I've just got a lot of information in front of me about it. But from what I saw on Twitter, he had got on a couple interviews, one with Roland Martin, to explain himself.
Oh, Lord.
Put him out there. And it was there. And I think you said something, Josh. He was with Cuomo where he didn't explain his plan eloquently or enough where people could understand. He was stuttering over his policies. It sounded like he was unsure of what he was trying to present. And as I brought it up to look up this plan, it's a lot to digest, man.
Well, I think also too, what people don't realize is, again, this happens mostly with all policy stuff, right? So like Contract with Black America has been around before Ice Cube, right? But him being the face of it, now he's the one that owns it, right? So it's his plan. So when he was on Roland Martin, he looked like a fool because he didn't know, quote unquote, his plan. And this is the part that celebrities get wrong a lot, where it's just like, yo, if you want to be involved in politics, fucking do what you want to do. It's a free country. But then actually know what you're talking about. You can't just slap on your face on it and be like, cool, because people that are really about that life will actually test you. And like he was on Roland Martin looking straight idiotic. Like he should have just not even went on that show if he couldn't answer the basic questions of the plan. And I think that's what messed him up even more. Where when you talk to Cuomo, same thing. Cuomo's like, all right, cool, Contract Black America. So what is it about? What's da 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 da? And he's like, huh? What? Yeah, black people need stuff.
Well,
Yeah. Go
I
ahead, Josh.
mean, part of the problem is, just the perception. As we acknowledge, baby Cam in the background, lighting it up. Um, it's just one of those things where just the mere idea that he sat with this guy, like, I can't believe that someone in his camp wasn't trying to tell him, like, yo, this is a bad idea. The optics for your brand, if nothing else, are just horrible. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think that was a part that I think that kind of messed that up, where it's just like, yo, dude, like you can. And I think this goes well with some other celebrities that are actually like in a lot of politics, like the Killer Mikes or the even John Cusack is about it like that. Julia Louis Dreyfus, like the celebrities that are really in it and they're on it, then like they'll be on it and they'll be like, yo, we can rock with the best of them and have a whole conversation. But what it really comes down to is like you got to know the shit. And I think that's what messed Ice Cube up because it made him look more like a fool. Where like if he would have came out and was like, boom, I know exactly what this plan is. This is what Black America needs to do. Da 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 da. I'm not the voice of Black America, but I'm just saying that these are the things that we need to start to put out. Then that would have been a lot better. Like I think his intent was good. His timing is fucking horrible. And that's a whole other situation. But yeah,
Why
just
is
having
it not, let's explain. Why is the timing horrible?
so I would say it goes two ways. So one, there's never a right time to talk about how Black America needs things, right? So one of the big grievances with Obama, with a lot of Black people that were in the middle to upper middle class or upper class, was that he didn't do an actual Black people bill, right? Like he didn't do a bill that was like specifically for Black people, like, yo, Black people are gonna get this, this, and that. But he did a woman bill, he did a gay people bill, he did a Latino bill, but he didn't do an actual Black bill. So we do definitely need something like this. But we also got to figure out again that if Cuba would have came out with this 3 months ago, like, yo, we sat down with Biden, we sat down with Trump, this is what we're trying to work on, da 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 da. I don't think people would still have a problem with it, but they wouldn't have as much of a problem. The fact that he did it, he came out, or it got quote unquote outed in like a month before when Trump was already kind of doing this dumbass platinum plan or whatever to court Black voters, it just makes everything more sus. So it's like even if his intent was good, it still messes it up because you're just like, dude, like we're we're not all a monolith, but right now we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to oust this one dude and then we're trying to go from other things. So that's why it's just this weird situation, because again, if you have read the Contract with Black America, it's actually really good. It's a lot of good things that need to happen in the Black community, but it's one of those things where again, the eye on the ball really is to oust this dude Trump and get that focus on there. And I think the nonsense that comes from it, that is what messes it up.
I mean, he. I didn't see the Roland Martin interview, but I did see the Chris Cuomo interview, and basically, he spent more time defending himself and being
Yes,
defensive
exactly,
than he
exactly.
did saying, listen, I understand the optics. I understand how the, just sort of empathizing with the viewer and just being like, look, I understand how this may appear, but the idea was to approach both candidates. I spoke with both campaigns. I spoke with both groups because at the end of the day, I don't know who's going to be president. Like if he
Yep,
comported himself in that way and
yep,
explained his goal and explained why he chose the avenue he chose in terms of like, like I said, I don't know who's going to be president. So I want to lay out this plan and be like, look, these are the things that Black America needs. If you want to make inroads with the black community, these are the things you need to address when you get into office. If he
yep,
just said that, I think it would have gone a lot smoother and been received a little differently, as opposed to, and I mean, because I mean, the slant that everybody's going to approach an interview with him is always going to be, until he alters the parameters of the interview, the slant is always going to be, yo, so you sat down with Trump, tell us about that. Why did you do that?
yep. Exactly. And that's what makes it worse because, like, again, like if you go to the website and you actually look it up, whatever, it's actually solid. Like a lot of the things that they're
Hmm.
talking about. There's a thing called the Agenda for Black America. It came out earlier in February or something like that, or March, and it was with
Hmm.
other scholars and like the other people, and that was actually really dope. It's like 32 pages. You can read through it. It's actually pretty interesting. But again, those type of things where like they did the one thing about them that they didn't do well is they didn't find a celebrity to help them amplify it, and so Contract with Black America, props to their marketing people for getting at least somebody that has a voice. But that again, like you said, the handling of it was just sloppy and just like fumbling. So now you're sitting there defending yourself as opposed to the plan. Like you're right. He should have the whole time. He should have been like, "Yo, it's not about me. It's about us talking about this plan and what we can do as a people." Because regardless of, like you said, regardless of who's in there, we got to make some type of a moves because we're in a situation that we are in. But that goes into a larger thing. Like one of my friends went back in the Bay. He's a black dude. He's more of a libertarian, not officially, but that's more of his views. And he was like, I could give a fuck about who the president is because my money's good. I've made good financial decisions over the last 10 years. So whoever's in the White House doesn't really affect me that much. Down ballot affects me more. But like I don't get into the whole like, oh, I hate Trump or we should go for Biden thing because I just don't care. Like you guys can have the emotional things. I'll work about my own small community, my own money, that kind of thing. So he
Hmm.
just doesn't care about that situation. So he was like, the Ice Cube thing was just a great example because he was like, yo, what he was talking about is all stuff that black community needs to be talking about, but everyone's too focused on you're talking to Trump. Oh my God, blah, 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 blah. And like, that's not the point, like it is on one aspect, but like the larger conversation still needs to be had because whether Trump's there or Biden's there or whoever's there, Black America still needs, to sit down and come together and go rally behind some issues.
Well, there
Well, I
was
mean,
somebody
yeah,
go ahead, Josh. Go
yeah,
ahead.
no. After you, Cam.
Uh, Somebody I know well has said there is room for critique of Ice Cube and his overall tactical maneuvers when it comes to advocating for the black vote, quote unquote. But to say that Democrats don't own any culpability for the fact that they don't have every single non-conservative black person on their side is beyond reductive. It also once again makes black people to blame for the quagmire we are
Exactly.
in this country.
Exactly.
Hmm.
We
Exactly.
Hmm.
are able to criticize publicly is always was comfortable to the white establishment.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. And I think that aspect of it, that's why it's like I would rather have a debate about the contract of Black America and what it has and what it doesn't have than Q sat down with Trump, which is usually the easy Twitter fingers version of like making fun of roasting until they move on to the next thing. I think that's the counterproductive part where it's like I'd rather people be like, "Yo, Q, in the plan it says this and this. Why would we have that? Because XYZ is happening." Like that's the part, and I think unfortunately in our social media inspired activism, like that's the quick thing to do as opposed to actually reading the plan and having that conversation.
I mean, we can get mad at Ice Cube for talking about the one candidate who addressed them instead of getting mad at the Biden campaign for not taking this low hanging fruit.
Yep,
Is
exactly.
extremely
Exactly.
problematic. But at the same
Hmm.
time, if he doesn't trust anybody, why try to work? I don't get it. Like
Yeah.
he knows that. I mean, he hasn't said he sided with anybody.
No,
Right.
exactly. And I think also too the other thing was, you know, he is correct. You have to talk to both sides of the aisle to see what's going on in terms of the conversation and what they can do. And also, to give Trumpito a little bit of credit, he did sign that crime bill that which definitely released a lot of black people that were in jail over some dumb stuff. However, that bill has been languishing in the freaking Senate for such a long time. So literally didn't just depending on who the Senate feel like they're gonna get it done with. And so it's a good thing that it got passed because it's going to help produce sentences of a lot of people and get them out of jail. But again, this is one of those things too, where it's like for black people, it kind of doesn't matter who's in the office. We're still the issues are still there. So who's actually going to put some actual effort into and helping and talking about these issues? And I think that's something that's like way more important than like, oh, Ice Cube sat down with Trump and blah 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 blah. Like, man, we like get over that aspect of it and figure out, okay, what can we really do to help our community?
Well,
Well,
the bigger question is why would so if Ice Cube had this contract with Black America, if this is their patriotic pathway to promote shared prosperity and achieve racial economic justice, why would Donald Trump or his campaign be interested in it? Moreover, why would Cube want to talk to his people about it?
I have an answer for that. I think the idea that he was able to sit down with someone who is the optics of sitting down with someone who has perennially been anti-establishment, has been very pro-black, and has spoken for, up to this point, all the things that black people always want you to speak for and stand for and represent in the public eye. Trump could care less about anything to do with the contract with Black America. Let's just establish that out the gate. We know this. This is just, it's a given. But in publicizing that Cube met with the Trump campaign, there's a certain legitimization that he gets, and Trump knows that black people, by and large, I mean, again, not being a monolith, but by and large, black people are not gonna vote for him in huge numbers. But just publicizing this allows him it gives him a unique opportunity to siphon away black votes, which is real. Like, there are people who are going to be like, yo, you know what? Cube sat down with this dude. We're trying to get, as Cam very eloquently said, we're trying to get him out. And here you come, sitting down with sitting with the enemy, sitting with the Klan, breaking bread, and
Yeah.
trying to discuss
Yeah.
like what were you and to me this is where I kind of fall in line with a lot of the popular thought process. And it's like, dude, what were you thinking? Like, what would you what you should have if anything, you want to have the meeting, fine. It's a unique opportunity, fine. You want to get our agenda out there, fine. But you need to be aware of who, what the devil that you're getting ready to lie down with, and you
Yeah.
need to be
Yeah.
able to, he needed to have public control. He needed to have control over the public relations nightmare that this wound up being, and
Yeah.
have that by the horns from the day he had the meeting. The second he walked out of the doors of that meeting with his campaign, the first thing he should have said was, I met with both campaigns. I want to do this. I want to do that because of these things. And this is why I sat with these guys. He didn't do that, and now we are where we are.
Yeah, and I think that right there is the we need to hire you, Josh, as your public relations person, because I said that's literally what it comes down to with all, except for in like also at the same time, Biden had a more detailed of his tax plan, and then our boy 50 Cent was like, whoa, 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 my tax rate is going to 62.4%. I'm voting for Trump.
Whose boy is this again? I'm sorry.
I'm going to. He is from New York. People from the Table of Truth are from New York, so I will put him in.
Yes. Listen, as the sole New Yorker in this group, I'm going to disavow all things related to 50 pence.
That'd be hilarious
As the internet has dubbed him, 50 pence.
But also,
yeah.
people again on the tweets and the Twitters, the jokes were fast and furious. But at the same time, I'm like, it's not surprising. Like 50 Cent is a rich dude. Like you vote. You vote either from fear or you vote with your wallet. Like, and as a dude that makes way around that money, of course he's going to be like, I don't want my taxes to go up. Like,
wait. You said vote with fear or money. Those kind of run hand in hand with.
No, you're right. You're right. But
so you saying it, we're not surprised. Well, I mean, I can speak from personal experience. I had a conversation with a good friend. I mean, we're still friends, and he comes to find out, he basically supporting Trump, and this dude is like an African American.
Of course, yeah, surprising.
But he's always on that. He's looking like at results, numbers based results, and like money. His one of his strong, and he's super. As he's gotten older, he's a very religious person in a sense. But I know this guy's history in college. We all did our dirt, blah blah blah. However, he's a changed man. He's a family man, blah blah blah. He's a good dude, right? But he's super religious, and he's hanging on to. Cam, you can speak to this personally about the religious hang up when they vote for Trump and his beliefs with the Christian beliefs, but also he was talking. His points was like he put money into the HBCUs, and he's got this $500 million or $1 billion plan, blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, and I said, look, I'm not going to throw rocks at a glass house and hide my hand. You vote who you want to vote for, free of criticism. That's the choice you have. I told him, I was like, look, I understand if you don't want to vote for neither. You know what I'm saying? I get it. I'm not a fan of either candidate, but you can't sit here and simply cherry pick facts and
Yeah.
ignore all the other stuff that encompasses with
Yeah.
Trump. But
Hmm.
I wasn't surprised because of his hustle grind mentality and money, capitalistic view on
Yep. There
things.
you go. There you
Trump
go.
put money in my pocket.
Yep.
This. I'm just
Yep.
like,
Yep.
that's in my head. I was like, yo, this is wild. And funny to wrap this up. We all used to live together at one point during my college tenure, in post college tenure, and I was the last one to know that he was like a pro Trumper. This dude was all about Herman Cain. I was like, are you like? I was like floored. I was like,
Wow.
what? Like I was the last person to know, but to be fair, and this kind of is off topic, but like I purposely didn't follow this person on Facebook because I kind of had a feeling by the way he was talking his points, he was really like on that like conservative route. But to sit
Yeah.
here and be the type of individual that I once knew to the type of individual he's now, I'm not surprised that this dude is voting Trump. It's just that when I heard it from his mouth, I was like, yo, I said, quote unquote, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying?
I
Nah,
mean,
man. I think
I will
it's
say,
happened to a lot of people. Oh, go ahead, Josh.
I will say this. I'm comfortable making this statement in this forum. If you're listening to this and you're an evangelical, I promise you, your voting block is cooked. Like after this election, if it goes the way that we think it's gonna go, and you like evangelicals by and large have overlooked so much with this dude. And as a voting block, I mean, to a certain extent, as a voting block, they're cooked, but as a political block, they're stronger than they've ever been. But with the number of federal judges that are conservative leaning, um,
Yeah, man.
so in that respect, it almost doesn't matter which way the election goes, because in that respect, Trump kind of did what he needed to do.
Oh yeah,
He
100%.
he has stacked the courts. But outside of that, if you had any other agendas or anything else that you wanted to do, you can kiss that goodbye. The Republican Party is done as a as a political monolith, and evangelicals are going to be all but like shunned. Like it's not.
Well, it's interesting to see that because I mean, so like my younger brothers, they are devout Christians. They go to church, Baptist, that
Mhm,
whole thing, blah blah blah
mhm.
blah. So, as Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, a lot of stuff was coming on. Breonna Taylor was starting to come. They started to actually like kind of, I don't want to say remember their blackness, but just now they kind of were getting that point where this crazy shit is going on and they're talking about it, and then their white friends are kind of just like, hey man, why are you so angry lately, are you okay?
Mhm.
And they're like sincere, like, what's going on, man? And then my brothers are like, they're killing us in the streets, like police are coming out here and killing niggas, what's going on with you? They're like, well, I mean, what did they do? And like, so they're sitting there and I was laughing because me and my younger brother we're talking to the twins, and we're like, well, you guys have now kind of gotten reacquainted that your church friends are your church friends, they're not friends, so you're their black friend. So they don't even almost see you as the black friend because you're just so like agreeable and whatever. And so they started to see it. So when they started to talk about things that's going on in the community and stuff that's going on, and then they started talking about Trump stuff, then they started to get this like major black backlash from people from their church, folks that they've known for a while. And so they're having these like crazy Facebook back and forth, which I'm laughing the whole time because like I try not to get involved in those things because it's just not productive, and we all know that it goes nowhere. So
Sure.
I'm adding in like gifts and other stuff just to break up the thing. Every once in a while, I'll break in and be like, actually drop a you know a critique, and then throw in a bunch of Table of Truth video audio, like, yo man, just listen to this shit and you guys will be good.
Not a knowledge bomb.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, what I was trying to remind my brothers is like, oh man, like white people, a lot of them are ignorant first and racist second. So when all this craziness is happening, especially when it comes for Trump, especially for evangelicals, they legit look at him like my brother was like, well, the youngest brother, he was like, yo, I was in church and the pastor was like, when you guys go to the polls, we just want you to vote biblically. And he was like, what the fuck does that mean?
That is as close to. So here's the thing. as a 503c, they're not allowed. No church is allowed to
Mm-hmm.
espouse a
Mm-hmm.
specific political view,
Yep.
and even doing that
Oh
was
yeah.
sort of threading the needle. But as a 503c, you are now constrained to not make any political statements. My mom church is the same way. You can't make any
Yeah.
overt political statements in support of or against any particular political figure. So I mean,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'll take it one step further. I used to, in a former life, I used to work at a telemarketing firm, and one of the campaigns that we did was for the Democratic Party, and I cannot tell you how many times they stressed to us in the training, do not say that you want Bill Clinton. This was Bill Clinton era. I'll tell you how long ago it was. Do not say vote for Bill Clinton. Do not say don't vote for George Bush. What you will say is we're calling to remind you to vote Democratic. That is as far as you go. That's the only
Yeah.
thing you say.
Yeah.
Anything else is illegal and you will cause us problems.
Yeah, and then now those lives are so blurred these days, where like people look at Trumpito as like a straight up like messiah type figure, and they rock with them like that because they have a mascot now, And I think the thing that my brothers were having struggles with is just was like, yo man, these people I prayed with and all this other stuff, and they really have little empathy for the struggle that I'm going through or things that's going around that affects me, and they're very like dismissive of a lot of stuff. And I was like telling them, I was like, yeah, man, but you now have to figure out where you want to spend that energy in that time. Do you have the time and energy to spend trying to convince some, dorky white church dude that black people actually matter? Or you could be like, you know what? Now that I know your views, that's cool, brothers in Christ and all. I'll be over here. And so I think they're kind of having that struggle where I'm just like, yo, dude, you're the best thing about Trump being president is it rips off that veneer that was around for a lot of people. And so as for black people, we've been seeing, a lot of white people did not realize that there are two Americas. And there's a lot of people that did and capitalized on it, but then most are just ignorant and literally just didn't care and they didn't even think about it. So now that Trump's been president and people are being more vocal, they're kind of like seeing that. And so even in the evangelical part, that part is like hilarious because I asked my dad about that. I'm like, yo, this dude has been married 3 times, slept with the porn star amongst other people. He's racist. Like that's not even a debate. Like he's a racist dude. Yet everyone, the people at church be like, well, he's gonna save the babies though, so that's
Well, the
good.
thing is, they and this is the Faustian bargain, right? Because they realize that there's someone who they realize there's someone who can carry elements of their agenda forward, and that's why I say they're cooked as a voting block because you look hypocritical. And my mom hit on something, and I quote that all the time when I have these discussions. They're evangelicals and they're Christians, and there's a very 10-foot wide long wall between those two groups. There are people who claim to be religious and they're actual practicing Christians and who actually follow the tenets and believe proper doctrine as it should
Yeah,
be taught. Now, whether or not, we can debate, what that's supposed to mean and what that's not supposed to mean, but I think we all know the general idea that I'm driving at, which is that,
yeah,
there are people who operate out of convenience for their, and cherry pick things as far as personal viewpoints and as far as you know sort of lifestyle and way of life tenets that they can espouse to that sound great in a soundbite or sound good in a conversation amongst like semi like-minded to like-minded people, and then there's everybody else. And I think that the evangelical bloc has now become the group of people who are willing to make this devil's bargain with Trump to get all the things that they want while claiming that they're Christian and claiming and allowing him to be associated with them as a quote unquote God fearing Bible
yeah,
thumping Christian. And that's just
yeah.
insanity to me. Like how do you
Well,
how do you
and
square
to
that?
And to bring it back to Cube and 50 and stuff, and African Americans that would vote on the more the conservative aspect of it, yeah, it comes back to those things where it's like there's a large swath of people that vote for Trump specifically because it's Trump, the way he acts, the way he talks, they like that, they identify with it, he says a lot of things they're thinking, they like that he quote unquote is honest and all that, and then there's other people that legit were like, well, yeah, my 401k looks cool, my stocks is up, and they're like, cool. And then all the racist stuff or the things that he said is quote unquote bad, they're like, I'm choosing to overlook that. And then just because I think these like kind of like what Cam was saying about old dude about, well, I look at the numbers and he did this and this for that, which again, like you said, cherry picking, we could easily do that with literally any president over our lifetime. Um, but that's the most interesting part where people will see what they want to see. So that's why I think it's always futile to sit down and try to like argue quote unquote with someone. I'm just like, yo, man, if you're gonna vote for Trump, that's on you, dude. Like, I respect the people that are like, Trump is an asshole, but he's an asshole that makes sure that my money's good. Cool. Like, I'm like, I respect that. All right, cool. Your money, you in the upper middle class or whatever, wherever your financial economic class is right now, I actually respect that you at least say that. Like, yo, he's an asshole and a racist, but for my economic class and where I'm at, it's perfect for me. And I know a lot of people that are like that. And I'm like, yo, I have no problem with that. But the problem I usually get to is when you try to cap for the dude that's like on some moral shit. I'm like, come on, bro. Just say all you got to do is say that his policies is helping you in your financial class. You don't have to keep. You don't got to cap for his antics and his dumbness. Like it's
But
like we
but
know the dude's racist. Like that's
from
like
the
we don't have to debate that aspect.
from the financial perspective, though, he didn't do anything. He didn't change anything. Like he
Yeah,
changed
no,
a
he
few
didn't.
things. Let me rephrase
Nope.
that. He did make some minor changes, but writ large, grand scheme. If you follow finance, I mean, and we three, to varying degrees, have different levels of engagement and involvement and a certain amount of following with finance, but overarching summary wise, in the grand scheme, if you follow economics and you follow the stock market and you follow just world economics in general, he did not do anything. He didn't
True.
change anything. He didn't institute any policies. He didn't institute anything. You know, getting out of NAFTA, okay, fine. Renaming it something else, basically cherry picking the best parts of the Obama deal and then getting back in and calling it something that he made up, you don't get a cookie for that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No,
Like
you're
he
right.
just,
Oh, and also too,
So
like again, it goes back to those things where it's like the you know if like I said, I have a feeling, the election's in 2 months, so 2 weeks actually,
I was
but
gonna
we can
say,
we can have it's in 2 weeks. We can have a deep dive. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of things, so it is really interesting on that aspect of it, where going back to Cube and even 50 is just like black people, we're not a monolith until we are a monolith, and
ah,
and so I think that's the problem that people have, where people are kind of just like, yo, man, we don't all think it together, and then someone was like, yeah, cool, well, I like Trump. What? I can't believe you like Trump. And so it's always interesting when we have to kind of like toe that line, which is completely fine, because as black people, one of the things that we need to start to address is that we are not all in the same economic class.
hmm
And being broke and black doesn't mean you're blacker than the person that's rich and black or the person that's middle and black. And I think that's the part that we as or in general as a culture, like we struggle with a lot, because we'll look at the person that's rich and thinking like, okay, cool, they did it, and we look at, okay, I could be them or I need help from them, as opposed to they are went through some struggles that we did, or the people had no struggles at all and they have a completely different life. The only thing we have in common is the color of our skin. So we as a culture need to understand that like different people live on different planes. So like it makes sense that 50 Cent would freaking vote for Trump because his economic class goes along with what Trump is spouting. But at the same time, if Ice Cube is like, yo, for us to move forward as a people, we got to talk with both sides of the aisle, quote unquote, then that's something that's actually also true. But now again, it goes back to that timing aspect of it. So, but yeah. That's, like I said, we can go on for that like forever.
Well,
Because
let me say this, and this is just me speaking from my personal beliefs. I personally don't trust anything about blackness that doesn't interrogate class, capitalism, or imperialism,
yeah, there
aka
you go.
the black stuff at the front of the bookstore. I automatically distrust any take that does not take into account the functional intersectionality of race, class, and colonialism. Like that is a damn baseline of understanding. And when someone comes to me and say, "How? What if someone calls me a class reductionist?" I say I don't address them at all. I don't, and I just keep it moving. So that's my take on that. Because right now, we're starting to hear a lot of black men are the reason why this is that and third,
Oh yeah, that's all stupid.
Yeah,
blah blah blah.
it only
So
takes one aspect of the argument into account if you're coming at it from the economic reductionist standpoint. Like that's and it's infantile, frankly. Like if you're gonna make
Yeah,
the
you're right.
argument to take off on the point that Cam just made, if you're gonna have the argument, have the entire argument. Don't just
Yeah,
cherry pick
exactly.
bits and pieces. The economic piece is
Yeah,
one really small but complex piece of the larger puzzle as far as the things that need to be addressed in the black community. So you need to go all the way back to everything that Cam just mentioned. And you
yeah,
need to not only understand it, but you need to be able to work your way backwards to the beginning of all of that. And then once you recognize all the different things that encompasses, work your way forward again with all those things as your base.
yeah. And I think that's like Cam was saying. I think there's a large swath of Black America that want black in black mobility and evolution and and empowerment, but still under the lens of capitalism. So now we're just moving it from the white people that are controlling everything to now it's just black people. So but it's still the same system and how that. And I think that's the part that gets wrong a lot, where people like they're not really looking at those aspects of it. Now it's not necessarily socialism, it's not communism, it's not blah blah blah. It might be a mix of everything. But you're right. If you don't really look at the economic aspects of it, because if you are a black male that's making $250,000 a year, you are definitely in a different economic class and thought process than a black dude that's making 30,000 a year. And like you're both black, you might have came from the same background, but like the mentality is going to be different and the interests are going to be different,
Right.
especially when it comes to economics. So yeah, we both can get stopped by the police and both get our ass beat or both get killed by the police. But like if you're you got stocks and you got no debt and you're sending your kids to college and you're driving a Tesla, like true, the person that just got killed that's poor is that looks like you is affecting you, but like honestly there's a lot of people that literally don't give any fucks about that. And that's a reality, and that's another aspect of Black America that we have to come to terms with. Like everyone assumes that just because we're all black everyone cares. Like that's not true. There's a lot of black people that literally could give two fucks about poor people, period. Like it's cool,
True.
hey, we're black and all that stuff, but like you're poor, I have money, and I'm in a good situation. Good luck with that, bruh, and then keep it moving. So we have to kind of um, understand and like come to terms with all of that, because that all those things are true. And then from there, then like Cam was saying, looking for them from a economic lens, then we can kind of move forward. Because you're right. I've one of the worst parts about this time and era right now is they compared to like back in the Tulsa 1920s and 30s, is we don't really have a strong economic foothold of our own to kind of play with these types of things. And I think as people start to make their own communes, people are like, Killer Mike's on the whole black bank thing. Like different people are trying different things to figure out what can work, but we need more of that. And that's honestly more important than just, us being all kumbaya and like, hey, let's have the exact same capitalistic system, but just black people are in charge now instead of white.
well, put it like this: I just seen something, and this another minor topic. Jamel Hill, she's been a hot topic lately, and she had a quote saying, I've increasingly found that many black men just want better access to patriarchy. They don't actually want to dismantle it, and you take notice of that claim. So while black men are being locked out of society at large, Hill wants you to believe that working class black men crave patriarchal power. Yet she makes no mention of how black women close to the trigger and in line with the DNC crave carceral power to punish black people. The ability to rule over others has always been the foundation of patriarchy. And while we see more and more backdoor deals from black quote unquote capitalists, feminists, and the like getting access to these platforms, Jamil Hill wants to convince you it's the black man who want patriarchy. Kamala Harris is a
Mm,
patriarch. She not only participates in the control of the state, but aims to fulfill the patriarch's primary agenda, the murder and removal of outgroup of men. But that's another story for another day.
yeah,
So
no, but no, that's 100% correct. I think
I
that's
don't have
the
anything to
black.
counter that, I must say.
Yeah, no, because honestly, it's common. It's three black men saying that everyone hates black men, but on some aspects of it, it is actually like they. I love when I saw the quote of black men or the white men of the black culture or some shit like that, and I was like, wow, word, that's what how you guys gonna do us.
Mm,
But but again, that, like as we said before, that goes back to all the multiple things that we have to talk about. It's not just about blackness. It's also about the patriarchy and matriarchy. It's also about capitalism. It's also there's so many different things. So yeah, it's a lot of shit that we got to go through to get to a quote unquote there, and
I
it's
just
gonna
want
take all.
everybody. Go ahead.
No, you can go ahead. I was gonna say it's like we just have to all realize that it's all of it. It's not just one specific point.
I just want everybody to make peace ahead of time that the fact that when we criticize Biden Harris presidency for police brutality at home and drone strikes overseas, it's going to be called racist, misogynist on here, and that goes quadruple if Harris succeeds Biden as president.
Yeah.
And on the flip note, I'm just looking at Bolivia shining over there. I'm smiling. So for those that are familiar, go Google what's going on in Bolivia.
Yeah, and that's gonna be interesting too, because I think the part that what people are celebrating what's happening in Bolivia, but now it's gonna be on Bolivia's task to make that shit work, and that's the difference. Where I think what people like, the one thing I really enjoy a lot of the aspects of socialism and that kind of stuff, but there are parts of it that still don't work for someone like me who might be in the creative field or whatever, or for other people that like really enjoy their civil liberties and the things that they like what people don't understand is like there's little nuances that might jive with not jive with your specific situation. So what's going to happen in Bolivia is just like another experiment. Like I hope that the experiment goes really well, but there has been tons of data prior that usually that experiment fails. So we'll see. I'm actually hopeful for Bolivia, and I think they can do some dope shit. But I think that's the aspect that we have to kind of really look at in all. Like it's the same. It was the same with Obama. Like Obama increased mad drone strikes, and that was like it killed a lot of freaking a lot of people. Just like what's going on right now, Trump's doing the same thing, and if Biden wins, Biden will probably do the same thing. But these aspects of America are tied to a lot of the capitalistic ideas that we're already doing. So whether now it's more about which type of capitalism that you want, as opposed to who's going to actually bring us to the promised land, or take us there. That's why I laugh when people are like, Bernie's too radical. I'm like, yeah, right, yeah, having universal health care and like livable wage is pretty radical.
I mean,
like, that's
Bolivia.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. So that's why I'm like, yo, man, the Bolivia experiment is gonna be fucking dope. I want to hope it goes well. They have a lot going against them, and so I hope that they freaking are up to the task, because it's gonna be super super interesting. So, but yeah. But onto a more important topics, because we're going off on doom and gloom. I would like to formally congratulate Cam on his Lakers on a well-deserved win.
hey,
Got to give credit where credit is due.
Insert applause here, and he called it way early.
Nope, he did.
He expressed
as
concern, but he did call it.
Yes, and as someone that has seen over the last 10 years the ridicule and jokes and memes that have been tossed his way,
Mm-hmm.
I give him ample respect for the restraint that he had prior for the whole season.
Really, he was humble. He was humble and quiet, and he just, occasionally you get a just wait and see.
100%. That you are a gentleman and a scholar for that.
I agree.
There is a lot of people that weren't so nice. And
I will say this: if I were in his position and this were the Knicks, I would not have exercised even a hint of the restraint that Cam has exercised over the last 2 weeks since the Lakers pulled it off. So, hats off, sir.
Well, let me say thank you very much to both of you guys. Congratulations. It's well received.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I got that out of the way.
Hit him.
All I know is that, I don't know. Well, I'll say this. When the Lakers won, I was a bit emotional about it.
Sure.
Because of the Kobe aspect. Let me get that out of the way. But I'm gonna make a video. If you guys are not aware of the Ghostface getting on Action Bronson video, I am gonna make a remake. I am gonna make a remake of that video.
Oh man!
I have the album of Melvin and the Blue Notes, Be For Real, that Ghostface played, and I'm gonna play that, and I'm gonna do a reenactment of all the receipts I've collected for the last year and a half, 2 years, living in the Bay Area, hearing all the nonsense. Because once we got LeBron, I said it was a wrap for you dudes. I have been on a warpath. The day after the championship was won by the Lakers. Anybody? I didn't go on Twitter because not a lot of people know me, follow me on Twitter, but on Facebook, a lot of my quote unquote closer friends and shit talking associates of other teams do follow me, and I let them have it. Josh, you saw my first post.
Oh, his first post was epic. It was just ha 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 over and over and over, and it was like 20 lines of laughter. I nearly spit out what I was drinking when I saw it. Comedy.
I shit you not. I released hell on earth on my timeline. I
I
had
can
memes,
co-sign that. I'm a witness.
memes for days. I had gifts. I had people trying to DM. I was like, "Don't DM me. I'm acting ignorant, not ignorant, ignorant, ignorant." Like I didn't want to hear anything. Now to those people that like kept it cool, I know they Warrior fans or whatever fans of whatever team. They really didn't say too much to me. I kept it cool. But to those that was calling this the bubble ring, fake championship, I was like, yo, if we lost, y'all would count that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's how this works, right? But like I'm over here defending my team, man. There's so much I could say. You would just have to see what I was doing on the social media
Oh man.
because I was talking so much trash, and I'm gonna keep talking trash until the next season start or a new crown champion appears in the NBA. Because man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man, man, this was a sweet victory. Because a year ago, one of our co-hosts, Anthony Singleton,
Wow.
called my team
Government.
Full government.
Government shout out.
he
Yikes.
got to get it called
Woo.
out.
I was waiting for this.
He at the beginning of the year said the Lakers were in a worse position than the New York Knickerbockers.
Which I didn't as the other Nick fan in the crew, I did not agree with that, and Cam is my witness. I pulled Ant's coattail. I was like, "You are talking crazy right now. There's no way in the world that you could back up that statement." And attempt to back it up, he did, but after I made that disclaimer, I let him rock because once Ant starts going, there's no once you put the diamond, you got to let the whole song play.
Man, listen, look. Ant let me have it for the first few months of Magic quit. We was having a parade for the protest of like Jeannie Buzz, and he was like, "You gonna go to the parade and help protest?" He got them jokes off, and I said, "All right, I'm gonna remember everything in this chat." And I told you, Josh, I was like, "Remember this, Josh. This your boy over here.
You did.
He gonna have to. He make his bed. He gonna sleep in it." And then we got AD because remember, the Knicks was supposed to get Zion, Kyrie, and KD.
Yes.
Them boys went to Brooklyn. Zion went to the Pelicans, right?
Yes.
I haven't heard from Ant outside of normal stuff in months about my congratulations.
Have you heard from him
Ant,
since?
if you hear me,
Have you heard from him since the championship?
I've heard from him, but we don't talk the championship because I said because I called him out. Like, hey, Ant, if you listening, come out, you coward, face me. Like you gotta face this music. I know you're gonna listen to this. But at the end of the day, my Lakers are the champs. And like I've been real chill. Like I haven't been like I've talked a lot of shit, but like I didn't go as far as I wanted to go because I was just buying my time. Because look, man, I remember some disappointments, man. Like I led the cart before the horse and we got beat. And so I had a lot of equity into this championship. So I was like, we cannot lose this championship. Because on the flip note, let's backtrack. Since the Lakers won, I want to talk about the bubble, the NBA bubble, and how this went. Because I'm gonna keep it banned. Like I really didn't. I was because of the social issues that was going on. I really didn't care for basketball. I was like, we shouldn't be playing. We shouldn't be playing those sports at all because of COVID, because of the social issues. Like, if we got a chance to make real reform, basketball and sports is meaningless, right? But it is what it is. They're gonna play, so we're gonna watch, right? Because I know it's gonna be a quote unquote healthy distraction from folks from the real issues. But they play basketball, and I was like, okay, if we're gonna play basketball, okay, I'm gonna still be a black man, still protesting, but at the same time, I'm gonna still be watching. I'm gonna keep it 100%. So I watched my Lakers do what they do in the bubble, and I watched all these teams. And outside of being a Laker fan, it was good basketball that was being played. There were storylines, there was narratives, there was upsets. A lot of people focused their attention. Some people were hating on it, saying it was too easy. It was like playing pickup game, and I'm like, it could be one of the hardest championships because if you think about it, you are away from your family and friends and loved ones in a bubble, isolated for about 100 days, and all you do is think about basketball. There's nobody to console you if you're going through something. Somebody was going like I was gonna say pandemic P, but Paul George. Paul George was having some depression issues. Danny Green was going through some depression issues. And you've been in that bubble, that's heavy. You know what I'm saying? If you don't have, there's no such thing as home field advantage because there's no crowd. So it's an even playing field. So the Lakers' best record goes out the door. You just go to play, right? So there's an argument to be made. It could be easy. There's an argument to be made that it could be one of the most difficult championships. I'm not. It's either neither here nor there. I'm not here to debate that. They can debate their aunties with that. But it was interesting basketball to play. I watched. I was engaged. The NBA, out of all the sports, did it right. We didn't have too many controversies. We did have somebody quote unquote for the Houston Rockets sneak somebody in, but that's
Right.
that's a funky story. I don't know the details about that one.
Yeah, and then also too, I like the whole Jimmy Butler starting his own cafe within it, which is hilarious.
Much respect.
Yeah,
Much
that was
respect
comedy.
to Jimmy Butler.
Yes,
Yeah, I thought that
indeed,
was dope.
indeed.
And then I like that. I like that one of the other trainers was like, "Oh, that's expensive coffee. I'm gonna start my own." And and then they had a little coffee war. But I thought, yeah, like I would say the NBA did it the best because they took
Yep.
it serious. And like they actually, again, there's a lot of money on the line. These all like, they know that there's money on the line, but they actually sat down and was like, okay, how can we actually make this work? And honestly, I didn't think it was going to work. Honestly, when they first started doing it and they're trying to figure it out, but they surprised a lot of us, and they actually like made it work, figured out how to do it, and actually made for a lot of people said just some enticing basketball. So props to them to actually taking it seriously, and then also putting in measures that work for people that could work with. And like you said, like folks had depression and this types of things, but then also they were also kind of like, well, I got to play basketball, which I didn't think it was going to happen anyways.
I personally, when I read, I had the same trepidation that you had, Cam, early on. But when I read what they were actually doing and got like a detailed analysis of all the different things that they were trying to do, I said, you know what? This actually has a shot of working. They're sequestering them from everybody, family, friends. There's going to be security out the wazoo. You can't just have somebody pulling up who isn't authorized. People are isolated, and if there's testing that's going to be going on a super regular basis. Like they're tested the same amount of time that Trump is, practically. Like they tested almost daily, and just sequestering them from everyone. Number one, number two, constant testing, and number three, having healthcare professionals who are versed in A, prevention, and B, detection on site at all times, and then keeping the network the television network people sequestered away, like they were on a whole other side of the Disney property, sectioned off from the players. Like nobody could come into contact with the players, and then the resulting one guy who got booted out of the bubble for violating. And really, he didn't fully violate. It was someone who was cleared to be there, or someone who was tested. It's just that they weren't supposed to have excess interaction with the players. Come to find out, he just invited Shorty back to his room, which, hey, listen, folks got to eat.
That story is real funky. No, that story is funky though. I think, to be honest, I think there's more to it, but we won't
There
find
could be.
that out for a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah,
So
we may never. So who knows? But
yeah, we may never.
but Now compare and contrast that to MLB, to the NFL.
Oh man, yeah.
The NFL being probably, I mean, early on MLB was probably was pretty bad and still is. Like there were up until the pennant race, there were teams that were still having issues with COVID positive players. The NFL is like a whole other ball of wax, because if one dude, I don't think they really understood that if one guy is sick, like if your defensive lineman is sick, defense and offense are now off the table for 14 days. Like everybody's got to go home, everybody's got to
Basically.
quarantine. So I don't think they really thought that through. Even soccer, like me and Cam have been heavy watching international soccer over the last couple months, and they're kind of doing their version of the bubble with some exceptions. Like Ronaldo was just found out, Cristiano Ronaldo from Portugal, who plays
Oh
for
yeah, that's right. That's
Juventus.
right.
He plays for Juventus in Italy. Was just found out to be diagnosed COVID positive. But when you look
He was on
at
an island.
and he
Yeah.
right, exactly, and he was on an island, so he, who knows how long he had it before it actually showed up in his system in enough of a register to show up in a test. So rest assured that British, Italian, and Spanish soccer are on top of it, the way that the way that the NBA is on top of it, and the only way to ensure that people aren't. Hell, when I at the weekend job, I just went there for the first time 2 weeks ago. I got tested walking in the door. They were like, "Yo, if you leave, you got to get tested again, just so you know." um, and I was
Damn.
there again on Saturday, and they tested me again. So every time you walk in the door, and they're keeping they make you do the spit test, they do your temperature check, they do a detailed questionnaire. It's not just, have you been sick, have you had diarrhea, what did you have for lunch? Okay, you can go in. Like it's like a good 25 questions they're asking about just your habits, where you've been, who you've been around. Have you been around anybody who's COVID positive? Has anyone that you know that's around you been around anybody who's been COVID positive? Like they're it's almost like it's the beginnings of a contact tracing questionnaire. Like
Hmm.
it's
Crazy.
pretty detailed. Like I look at
But I
my
mean,
joint, and
that makes sense though.
it lists all my tests that I've had since starting to go back to work.
No, that makes sense though, especially if you're really trying to do like you have like there's a lot of money on the line for things people are trying to actually get work done, especially on the film industry and all that. So
hmm
you just
But
got
it
if
doesn't
you
make
got to do
sense to
all
me.
that, then
Right, and that's what I'm saying, like, it doesn't make sense to me to half-ass it. Like, why would you go through all the trouble of restarting anything, sports, work, whatever industry it is, and not take steps to ensure that, you know, A, that everybody's not gonna get sick, and B, that you're not gonna have further disruption to your end of the industry, to your work that you're trying to do. And honestly, at the end of the day, money that you're trying to make, why risk any of that? Put in
yeah,
place the things that you need to put in place. I mean, Sony runs the company that I work for, so they're not really trying to hear that. A, because they don't want to be liable, and B, because they would really like to just get back to work and get back to making money.
yeah,
So, they have a certain investment in they have a certain investment in doing things properly and doing things right. We don't just have a guy who's sitting at a desk with a bunch of masks and face shields and whatchamacallit. We have a COVID supervisor, like a COVID-19 liaison and supervisor. Like his whole
oh
job is
wow,
yes, that's what I'm saying. Like we have a guy that sits at a desk when you get off the elevator on our floor. You go see him before you go to your desk, before you go to control room, before you get behind a camera, before you sit behind a mix board. Whatever it is that you do there, you got to pass him first, and you don't go in unless you do. And if you do go past him, there's somebody there conscientious who's like, yo, just making sure, did you go see the COVID dude before you came in here? Because if you did, you need to turn around, don't put down your bag, don't take off your coat. I've seen that in the 2 days that I worked, probably about 15 times, where everybody's like sort of on it and looking out and making sure, yo, did you go see the COVID guy when you came in? Because I didn't, like, I'm just seeing you for the first time today. And
Yeah,
it's just
no, it's true.
it's accepted practice. It's not weird. It's not, nobody's getting all flustered. Like, oh man, there are a couple of people like, yo, you know what? He wasn't there when I came in. Let me go check him now.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Like,
There's a
there's a
lot of
whole
money on the
community.
line,
There's a whole community around it just in the office. So I can only imagine, And by contrast, there's other work that I've looked for. And no lie, there was this one spot. It's not funny. It really isn't. But it was just it's so astounding that it is funny. There's this one spot that had a posting looking for an intern, and the intern was going to be responsible for temperature checks, for distributing masks, distributing gloves, and wiping down equipment. Now, all those other things, yeah, maybe. I don't think you want a 20 some odd year old who's never really worked anywhere in the industry before doing all of that. But you are not wiping down anything that I'm responsible for as a technician. You are not wiping down anything that I connect
you
to anything else with any antibacterial wet anything. If you're not a professional who doesn't know how to handle electronics, and not consumer electronics that you can buy at Radio Shack, $5,000 cameras, $40 cable that for 10 feet is like 50, 40, $50. Like, nah, you're not touching my equipment. You're just not.
and I think that's the part, and then that's the part that, like, for NBA they just got right, and so that was good that they got that. And now even with NFL, like, NFL's having their issues where they got to. There's games on Tuesdays. Like, I was like, I pulled out of all my fantasy leagues. So I was like, this whole thing is going to be crazy.
Mhm.
But like, I'll be like, yeah, there's just random games on Tuesdays now, which is like a thing. I didn't even, so there's games Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday.
It's better than Thursday games. Tuesday, I'll take a
I'm like,
Tuesday game.
yeah,
Um,
it's just all over the place, man. I'm like, I don't, and even with the COVID and how things are going with that, like, yeah, there's more surges. Like, folks is, as Trump people, they're saying people are just tired of it. They're just saying whatever, which is like, yo, man, that's cool, but that shit doesn't mean that shit goes away.
Basically.
hey, all I know is the Lakers are the 2020 champs. And this is the sweetest. Out of all the bullshit that happened, this is second on my list of achievements of this year.
Fair
You
enough.
guys know that. So seeing my Lakers do the damn thing and being able to talk so much trash and no one can tell me anything for a year, like, it is a sweet feeling, my friends. My guys, when you come to this momentous feeling, it's been a
Uh-huh.
while for some of you guys' teams, but when you
True.
get here, I mean, Josh, you're a Giants fan, so I know when the Giants won a few Super Bowls, it was amazing, right?
Oh, I did backflips for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was out of my mind. I talk
man.
so much trash to Patriots fans. I know way too many Patriots fans. It's ridiculous how many I know. The amount
So
of
this is
trash talking and text messaging that I did is beyond anything I've done. I can only imagine when the Knicks win. It's gonna be over. You're not gonna know me.
basically, but it was bittersweet because I couldn't go to LA for the Laker parade.
Oh,
Yeah, no, that's a good
That's a
point.
national
Yeah,
holiday.
yeah,
Every
yeah,
time the
yeah.
Lakers, I was 30 when the Lakers last won it. Like, I went to LA. So every year the Lakers win it, I take off work. I tell my bosses I'm requesting vacation for 3 days. I'm going to LA.
3 days.
I'm about to be out. Yeah, man, I'm out, bro. Like, that is a national holiday in my book when the Lakers win. I haven't been on that holiday in 10 years. I
Mm.
mean, so it is what it is, man. But I'm glad the Lakers did it. The Dodgers are in the World Series. Now, I'm not a Dodger fan per se, but if they were to win, LA is about to go crazy, right?
yeah, definitely. It's crazy. I think especially for MLB. Honestly, pretty much everyone was just like, as long as Houston's not in it, it was fine.
Yeah, no, damn Houston on every level. The cheaters.
but that's, I mean, and then I think with Lakers winning and like sports and that kind of stuff, that was helping to bring a welcome change to a lot of the craziness that's been going on. So like, that's why it's like, okay, this is a good thing that like you have a little bit of more distraction. And then also too, just for LeBron too, like, yo, man, finally put some respect on that dude's name. Like, it's too much asterisks and maybe sort of kind of like, nah, man, just let like
Bruh.
just get over it. Like, give him his props so we can all move on with our lives, and then keep it moving.
Bruh, it's so much hating on LeBron. It's crazy.
Dude, it's crazy. How could you be a
That
fan of basketball and hate on LeBron? Like,
we're
that's
gonna
part of
we're
the
gonna have to save the LeBron agenda
problem.
for another like pod, a specific pod on NBA and
Well,
like
as
just
some
the
Yeah.
nuances of that.
as someone who's had my share of issues with how LeBron has been lauded in the past, I'm and to be clear, I'm no longer maintaining the stance that that he's well, no, I never had. Now that I think about it, he's I've never had this idea that he's not a great player. He is hands down, at minimum, the greatest player of this generation of basketball players. And there's no asterisk to that. You know what I mean? Like, he deserves to be mentioned in the same breath as a Michael Jordan or a Wilt Chamberlain. You know what I mean? Or a Kobe Bryant. Like, he's at this point, it is undeniable. Whether or not you want to quibble over, the difference in basketball now, with ticky tacky fouls and how people are being how fouls are being called, and the pre-Jordan era where everybody kind of got a foul called no matter who you were, versus the post-Jordan era,
Facts.
the post-Jordan era where you literally had announcers saying, well, you're not going to get that foul against Jordan, which is nonsense to me. But at this point, I'm used to it. Like, I'm used to it. Like, at this point, if you're not used, and that, I think, is the thing that a lot of our conversations, Cam, have come to have sort of brought me around to. Like, you can either rage against the machine and be like, yo, basketball used to be like blah 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 blah, or you can look at it as, look, the game has evolved and it's not the same way that it was when friggin' Pistol Pete Maravich was playing, and the games
Yeah.
were filmed in broadcast in black and white. Like, it's a completely different game. And so the way that we grew up playing and the way that we grew up watching basketball, there have literally been rule changes. There are things that they're a lot more lax now in calling, that they were a lot more stringent in calling. Like, putting your hand on somebody's hip is not permissible anymore. You can't do what Jordan used to do and guide people to what direction you want them to go. That's a foul.
Hey, look, man, the Celtics played the KKK. That's why they got like 100 championships. Uh, let's keep it real, man. Like, when we talk about the tough 80s and 90s, it was only, they show the same four teams: the
Right.
Knicks, Celtics, Pistons, and put whoever else you want. It'd be the same four teams, right?
Right.
It's trash basketball. We romanticize those certain teams that played a certain way, but the rest of them teams was hot basura. You had a few stars here and there, and let's keep it real. We enjoyed the basketball. I'm speaking for myself.
Hmm.
I enjoy not 90s. I enjoy this era of basketball. It's exciting. Yes, it is a little ticky tacky because you got the Harden type rules and whatnot.
Hmm.
But I'm not trying to see a score of 55-40 at the end of fourth quarter. So I'm cool. Like, no one's trying to get gang tackle going to the rim. Like let's keep it banned, because if your player get hurt, it's a wrap. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like,
Right.
we romanticize that tough era, but like I said, that tough era is only like, look at I challenge anybody listening to this podcast. Go look at any video of the tough era and look at the teams and tell me how many different teams you see. Ron Artest said, "You can't call my generation weak because I played in this generation and it's tough." He a tough dude. So
Sure.
if you coming at Queensbridge calling him weak, you might get popped in the mouth. He played in all that era. He said his whole career was tough. You know what I'm saying? He played against LeBron, he played against Jordan, all of them. He said it was all tough. He said this era is just tough. It's just different. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Agreed. Agreed.
So, like,
Yeah.
again, I enjoy, like, I watched 80s, 90s, 2000s, and current basketball, and I can say when the Warriors was cooking, it was fun to watch.
Hmm.
Because they were like the Rams, the greatest show on the turf. It was the greatest show to watch when they had Draymond all them cooking. You know what I'm saying? We watched because we hated them. We watched the Rockets because we hate them. It's not an enjoyable form of basketball, but you watch, you're engaged, like Showtime. You wanted to see high scoring and fair and flair. No one's trying to watch the lunch pail Pacers play. No one cared. Like,
I mean,
cool.
I think that's the also a faint difference, a thin line between East Coast basketball and West Coast basketball. Because I think you guys, I think out in the West Coast, sort of latched onto fast paced transition basketball before it became sexy weed league wide. Like the Lakers were just like watching Showtime was just like was just bananas if you were a little kid, especially. And you know, for me, I couldn't coming up, I couldn't shoot worth a damn, but I could pass and knock you in your head if you ain't looking. Like you need to keep your eyes open, you need to keep your hands up. And I got that watching Magic Johnson. You know what I mean? So to have a team and as much as I worship the 90s Knicks, to have a team comprised of a bunch of dudes who couldn't really play, who played grinded out, slow you down, wear you down, you know, drain your energy, leaning on you, elbowing you in the grill basketball, it's a different animal, and nobody played, even back then nobody played like that, because that that era of basketball was built more like a Bulls type of team, where like, you know, which to me was a hybrid of a lot of different offenses, but also sort of the run and gun fast paced of sorts, a version of the fast pace that Showtime Laker basketball had. Like their passing was immaculate. That people were just in the right spots. Everybody had their hand up the way that the way that you learn you're supposed to play. Keep your eye on the ball. Don't watch the man, watch the ball. And on both sides of the court. And you'll never, like, you can't go wrong. You just can't go wrong. And you know, I think
And
the
I think
Knicks, for
that's
all
a
the
that
love that I have
that's
for that, sorry,
oh go ahead, go ahead.
for I was gonna say for all the love that I have of the Knicks, you know, it just it was great defensive basketball to watch, but it was always like the reason why one of the reasons why Jordan getting dunked on was such a big deal is because the Knicks never really had that in them. They don't really have that kind of. They never had that kind of high flying that kind of high flying acrobatics that a lot of other teams were known for in the era of a Jordan, a Pippen, you know, and all the other dudes who would the and all the other high flying dudes of that era. We didn't have that. So, you know, go ahead, Cam. I'm sorry.
I mean, yeah, I was gonna say, like, you know, you guys love Starks, but Starks was a D League player, man. Like when Spiro was there, the Knicks was interesting. You know what I'm saying? When Spiro became a Knick, I was tuning in. I was like, oh, okay, this is what I'm talking about, because he could slash to the hole. He had some flair. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? But you know, we all love the '90s Knicks, Mason, uh, uh, Greg Anthony, Ewing, and all them, and that's cool. That was them. But
Right.
like I said, I'm not trying to see a score 15-6 after the fourth quarter. I'm trying to I'm trying I'm trying to see some buckets. So as much as I hate the Warriors and their fan base, when they got KD, I mean, when you watch the Splash Brothers, that's great basketball. When you
Yeah.
watch the
It was
Bulls and the Triangle Offense and Jordan going off, that's great basketball, man. Like the
agreed.
Lakers
Agreed.
basketball. Um, the last time I saw like a lunch pail team win it was the Pistons in '04. That was like
Okay.
a team that had no, like, they had all stars, but no, you could argue
No superstars.
she was a superstar, but not like a superstar max
Right.
player type deal. And
Hmm.
he's probably the closest thing to a Hall of Famer. But they were like a team of nobody. Like was like the alpha. It was like a team. You know what I'm saying? And then you got these other teams that step up, the grit and grind, the Grizzlies and stuff, but they ain't winning. I mean, it's cool to watch the grit and grind, but like, are we gonna really tune in and watch grit and grind versus like whoever's the Pistons? You know, like Grizzlies versus
No,
Pistons. We would be
that's a good
pissed.
point. Well, I think that's also too. It's like, I'm a casual basketball fan, and like you're right. Like, do I want to see a good battle of 64 to freaking 62?
Nah, yeah, we trying to see
Like,
Bron. We trying to see
yeah,
22.
it's fun.
We
You're
trying
right. It's just that aspect of being fun and just enjoying the game. I think that's the aspect that a lot of people sometimes romanticize, because you're right. Like, we've gotten to see. I remember when they were saying that, they were talking about how, I think someone put that a quote was like that. They're like, yeah, people, a lot of the kids look at Kobe as like a lot of how we looked at Jordan at the time, and then he's like, it was wild to them that we get that there's certain people that are over the age of 30 that seen peak Jordan and peak Kobe at the in their lifetime, and with full knowledge of how basketball is, which I think was actually pretty interesting because you're right. The older of us have seen Jordan, Kobe, and LeBron all at their peaks, and we can be able to see all that craziness and all that basketball. Where a lot of the young kids, they've only seen LeBron, or they only seen LeBron and Kobe.
Yeah, to the kids out there, Google 93 Jordan. In my opinion, the best version of Michael Jordan at his peak prowess was 93. Google either 2004 or 2006 Kobe, or Google Miami Heat LeBron, which I think is the best version of LeBron, physically, athletically, and just all around game. I think LeBron is a better overall player now at his age of 35, but I think the best LeBron I've saw was when he was with the Heat. But we had a debate, and I said to a friend on Twitter, I was like, people thought 96 Jordan. I was like, nah.
Nah, I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah, I was like,
Jordan hater. I don't even co-sign.
Yeah, in my opinion, the 93 version of Michael Jordan was it was stupid.
Agreed.
It was really, really ridiculous that no one on this planet, the galaxies, the Marvel universe, the DC universe could check Michael Jeffrey Jordan in the year 1993. Nobody on this planet. And they gave the MVP to Chuck, Charles Barkley, Mr. AKA, we need to have a dialogue or whatever.
Dude.
So Google those three players, and you'll see some truly amazing exploits from three incredible players that graced our NBA.
See, that's dope, and I think that's the kind of conversation when it comes back to when it comes to basketball that should be had, where it's like, instead of waxing poetically about a certain era, but just being honest about the parts and the goods and the bads, but then also weighing it out. So it's like, yeah, man, we're in a new era and things have evolved. So like, embrace the change and enjoy it, but then also have a good look from the past now that keeps going forward.
Well, yeah, like I said, we acknowledge the Celtics having 17 rings, but half them rings, like I told you, they played the KKK. That's all it is.
Also, it's worth acknowledging that people sort of have emotional attachments to their team. And, Cam and I can have a discussion about any number of basketball teams, but our conversations rarely stray into because I like them or because they're good. Like, it never gets stupid like that. Cam always comes with stats. I always come with stats, and we put stats up against that. You should see our chat. It's filled with nothing but screenshots of stats from different years that different teams played, and that's the basis for a lot of our debates. That's the basis for a lot of our discussion. And we put up whole screens of teams from whole team rosters that make it, that make it so that it removes any doubt about, like, the numbers are the numbers, and they just are what they are.
Yeah, I would say the numbers tell a story, but not the complete story, because everybody can make a narrative with numbers. There's also something to be said that if you were, quote unquote, alive during that era watching these games, sometimes the eye test could tell you. Like, again, I have this theory, well, not even a theory, it's just my belief that Chris Webber was a great player, great at his position, favorite player of mine at his position, but he's not a Hall of Famer. He may get in because the NBA Hall of Fame it's weird. They include everything, like, but he may get in on his merits. Like, Mitch Richmond to me is not a Hall of Famer. Chris Webber is not a Hall of Famer. Great players, but when I think Chris Webber, I don't think of him as standing out like Tim Duncan, the best in his position. Kobe Bryant, arguably the second greatest shooting guard or greatest shooting guard to ever play the game, depending on who you ask, right?
Sure.
But when I think of Webber, I'm like, dope player, had some amazing years with certain teams, but I don't think he should get in. And like the eye test, like I said, we can come with stats and whatnot, but sometimes the eye test, you watch that player and be like, that play, like Draymond is one of those players that when it's all said and done, if you didn't watch Draymond and you went purely off stats, you'd be like, okay, he had a few good statistical great years, but then you don't understand what Draymond means to the team.
He's a Sean Kemp.
'Cause-
Sean Kemp will be
Yeah.
another guy. If you look at the numbers, it tells one story. You watch Sean
Yeah.
Kemp play, and Sean Kemp rebounding, and Sean Kemp dunking, and Sean Kemp passing.
Yeah.
Like, it's a whole other ball of wax, and there's a lot of intangible things. Like, he was a playmaker. He wasn't just,
Mhm.
a slam dunk champion. He wasn't just a dude who played above the rim. Like, his basketball acumen was outrageous. And then the physicality and the things that he would do on, that show up on the stat sheet, just augmented those things. But if you look at purely to follow what you were just saying, to bolster your point, you look at the stat sheet, it tells one story. You watch Sean Kemp play, and it's just otherworldly. It's a whole other ball of wax that you could learn a lot from. And so to compare him against Chris Webber, I don't even think that I would, like, again, as you say, like, there's getting in on merit and time spent and time served playing in the NBA, and then there's Sean Kemp, who played at the same position.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah,
it is
that
what
makes
it is. Like, there are certain players that I don't believe belong in the Hall of Fame, but they were great players. I'm not here to debate who's this, who that. Like I said, enjoy the greats. We still got LeBron. Enjoy these years while he's still playing. Lakers are the best team on this planet in the world. Everybody's world.
I am
So,
here for that debate.
Yeah, I
So
like that. But
I'm
that's
here
good.
for the debate.
I mean,
So you
I
can
think,
argue any
I
day
think that's what.
twice on Sundays. I'm here
Yeah,
for
we
it.
could do that. We could do our NBA wrap up, which would be funny. Yeah,
we got to unearth Ant from his hiding space.
All right,
yeah.
Oh, I know. This might the next basketball conversation might be a reunion show.
Seriously.
So we can have everybody represent their team with their, like, Dwayne come in with his Bulls, Ant come.
No. Dwayne came back to the Knicks.
Oh, did he?
He announced that in the chat. Yeah, he's a Knicks fan.
Oh, okay. He comes in with the pain and the suffering. I get it.
Dwayne, if you listening or when you listen to this, confirm that you're a Knicks fan, because I recall you saying I'm gonna come back to be I know he came back. He used to be a Cowboy fan, which is weird.
Oh God,
a New Yorker being a Cowboy fan, but
I believe he explained that.
Yeah.
America's team used to watch the Pop, that kind of thing. So that makes sense.
Yeah, but he came back to all New York teams. So I believe he's back on the Knicks bandwagon. So
okay,
good
fair
for
enough.
him.
Okay.
Misery loves company, so it's all good.
Here we go. I knew you couldn't go without. I knew you can make.
I gotta have it. See, I was trying to cut it before that, but I knew it was coming. As a Knicks fan adjacent, I've seen the pain and suffering up close, so I empathize when I watch it. I'm like, ooh, jeez.
Hey, Josh, we had a taste of it for 10 years. I said no more, no more, none of this. None of this. This ain't me.
You don't want your last championship to be 1973. You don't want that.
Oh,
yeah. You don't want that.
Whoa.
You don't want that.
I mean, that's how the Warriors were for so long, and then But you're right. All right, let's wrap this up. Let's get a little final words. Josh, you want to be something more cheerful than the Knicks?
Oh, so now I got to be cheery. Now I got to be cheery. Go out and vote. Don't be stupid. Vote. Like, if you have a stake in, if you feel like you have a stake in what's going on, if short of making some sort of a statement, short of some conviction that you have that really precludes you from voting, which I understand, if depending on the slant that you approach it with, depending on your reasoning, short of that, just you're a dummy if you don't vote. Like, have a reason if you're not. But if you don't have a solid reason, and not because because it's not gonna make a difference. Yeah, it's gonna make a difference. Like, you need to have more than that. You need, if that's your stance, then you need to have some supporting argument. And I know people who do. So, having heard their arguments, the average person's argument is not that person's argument. So, short of that, just get your ass out and vote. Like, don't be stupid.
I will be the antithesis of that and say it's okay not to vote for the parties that you think are not righteous for you, but more importantly, vote for your local legislation and politicians within your community. I think that's more important.
Oh, for sure.
For
And
those,
this is you're proving my point precisely. This is exactly what I was
yeah,
referring to. Yeah, this is
yeah.
exactly we're saying the
So
same thing. You're expanding on
yeah,
it.
no, yeah, just expanding. But like, there are people like me who have a certain sentiment about the candidates, and if you don't feel morally and ethically in agreement with the two party system, just take your vote and vote on the local legislation and know what's going on in your
100%.
community. And that's more important. Don't let anybody bully you into something that you don't believe in. So
Agreed.
that's all.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
You said it more eloquently than I did. We were saying the same thing. 100%.
My final word will not be about voting because you guys already covered all the bases. What I'll do is I will share a story that I already shared with the fellas, but I thought it was cool. I was on an interview with a company yesterday, and the person that was interviewing me, this is in the East Coast, so New York, around that area. But anyways, the beginning of the interview, the gentleman was kind of like, "All right, this is gonna sound weird, but are you a host of the Table of Truth podcast?" And I was like, yeah,
And
yes,
you
I
unleash
am."
the air horn. Ba-na-na-na.
and so And so he said, "Well, I know this is gonna sound odd, but my wife's best friend sent her a episode, and then she sent it to me, and this was like in the beginning of COVID, and I've been listening to you guys like since the COVID, like springtime all the way up until now, and then also went back and listened to older versions, and so it was funny because I was like, huh." That's weird. And he
You
was
were
like,
like,
"Yeah, yeah, but you guys are
so does it mean I get
hilarious."
the job? Does it mean I get the job? Is that since you're a listener?
I'm just saying. I mean, I thought it was funny because the 15, 20 minutes of the conversation was about the podcast, and it was cool to kind of. And again, we have various different types of fans, and we talk to them in different ways and something like that. And like sometimes we actually forget about the listeners, the tots out there,
Tots.
because we're just out here. We out here just like pontificating on random stuff. So it's kind of it's a good reminder that like we do have an audience that listens and they appreciate us, and it's kind of cool to hear it from the fans of like, yo, actually that was a good episode, or that was appreciative, or that aspect of it. And so it was just really random and it was really cool, but it was a good reminder that I appreciate the fans, and it's cool when folks are out there listening, and like we actually do like doing this pod a lot, and we're trying to make some strides that we don't fail you guys, and try to at least get it out there, at least at the very least once a month. But we've been getting a little bit more, so I'm happy with what's going on with the Table of Truth this past year, and we've been having some good conversations and sharing with the peoples, man, sharing with the peoples.
And listen, shout out to that guy you
Right.
interviewed with. You need to hire this guy. Like, stop playing. Don't play. Like, come on, man. You see the
But
caliber.
names been changed
The
to protect the
caliber.
guilty.
Of course. But you know who you are, and you hear the caliber of men that you interviewed offline and online. So give him a shot. Give him the old college try. He won't let you down.
And to those section of fans who follow the IG page, those spicy and hot takes do not reflect the Table of Truth. That's just all me. So, please don't DM me the Table of Truth saying what's going on with the controversial hot takes and IG stories. That's just me, and I take full ownership of that. So.
Exactly. But yeah, we definitely appreciate it, and something that we don't take lightly. So it's dope. So, but yeah, man. With that, this is Table Truth, and we out. Peace. Don't forget to vote.
True.
Or don't vote.
Wow.
Don't forget to vote in your local election.
There you go.
That's our message. That is our message.
On that, we are all in agreement.